In this video, we want to look at how to find the least common multiple using our TI-34 multi-view calculator. And this can be helpful in a number of ways, but one of the most important ways is that the least common multiple is also the lowest common denominator. If you have 2 or 3 fractions and you want to find the lowest common denominator, it's really just the least common multiple of all your denominators. So in our sample problems, it says find the least common multiple of the following sets of numbers. So in sample 1, we want to find the least common multiple of 12 and 16. So if we want to find the least common multiple, we're going to use the math button here. So if we hit math, you'll notice that there are two categories, math and NUM, which is num for number. But you'll notice under math, option number 1 is LCM, which is least common multiple. So we'll hit 1 for option 1, and that pulls up the LCM with a parenthesis. The LCM function will find the least common multiple of 2 and only 2 numbers. So in our first 2 examples, we're going to be able to use it directly. But in examples 3 and 4, we're going to have to get a little bit creative. So we're going to type in 12. And then in order to put in our second number, we want a comma between the 2 numbers. And you'll notice above our decimal point there's a comma in gray. And to get to anything that's gray on the computer, you have to hit the gray second button first. So we hit second, and then our decimal point button. And that puts in our comma. And then 16. And then finally we have to remember to close our parentheses and hit enter. And it'll tell us that the lowest common or the least common multiple of 12 and 16 is 48. So if you count by 12s, 12, 24, 36, and so on, and then you count by 16s, the first number that those 2 sets of numbers have in common is 48. So for problem number 2, we would hit math, option 1 for LCM, and then 15, our second button, and then our decimal point to get our comma, and then 60. And then we close it with a closing parenthesis and press enter. And it tells us that the least common multiple is 60. And if you're pretty good with your multiplication, then you'll know that 15 times 4 is 60. So what that's showing us is that 15 is a multiple of 60. So that's our least common multiple. One thing I do want to point out when we're finding the least common multiple is that the least common multiple can be no smaller than your largest number in the set. So when we looked at 12 and 16, if we got an answer of, say, 4, we would know that's incorrect because the least common multiple is a multiple of both numbers. Now in number 3, we want the least common multiple of 3 numbers. And the way we do this with the TI-34 is we're going to find the least common multiple of the first 2, and then we're going to use that answer and our third number to find the least common multiple of all 3. So math, option 1 for least common multiple, 8, second, decimal point, 14. And then you close it with a parenthesis and press enter. So the least common multiple of 8 and 14 is 56. Well, now what we do is we hit math again, option 1 for LCM, and we're going to type in our answer, 56, second, the decimal point, and then our last number, 24. And we close the parenthesis, press enter, and it tells us that the least common multiple of those 2 numbers is 168. And what that gives us is the least common multiple of all 3. So the least common multiple of 8, 14, and 24, the first multiple that they all have in common is 168. And then we can use this process as many times as we want. So for the example problem number 4, we've got 4 numbers. So we hit math, option 1 for LCM, 4, second button, decimal point, 6, closing parenthesis, enter. So the least common multiple of 4 and 6 is 12. And then we just do the process again. Math, option 1 for LCM. This time we type in the answer 12 that we got originally, second, decimal point, and now our third number is 9. So we type in 9, hit our parenthesis, enter. So that gives us the least common multiple of 4, 6, and 9 is 36. And now we do it one more time. Math, option 1 for LCM. Type in our answer, 36. Second, decimal point. And now we do the fourth number, 18. Close the parentheses and hit enter. And it gives us 36. Because 18 times 3 is 36.